This episode of Disability After Dark has been brought to you by the worker owners of Come As You Are. Come As You Are has the peculiar distinction of being the world's only worker-owned cooperative sex shop. With feminist and anti-capitalist values, Come As You Are only carries sexuality products that they truly believe in at the lowest price possible. Get free shipping at www.comeasyouare.com using coupon code AFTERDARK. Crippled Content Creations presents Disability After Dark, the podcast shining a bright light on sex and disability, with your host, Andrew Gurza.
Disability After Dark with Andrew Gurza, shining a bright light on sex and disability.
Content warning. The language, content, and discussion found within this episode of Disability After Dark will be explicit. Listener discretion advised. Hey friends, lovers, and everybody in between. Thanks for clicking on this brand new episode of Disability After Dark. I'm really excited you're here. This one is one that's been in the making for a while now. I am super excited to share this episode with you. This guest I have today is a dear friend of mine. Let me tell you all about it. On today's episode, I talked to my good friend Eva Sweeney. She is a pleasure professional out of California working in sex and disability. She started her school classes called Cripping Up Sex with Eva Sweeney. She's done work on queerness, sex, and disability all over the U.S. We became on each other's radars a couple years ago, and we've helped each other out in the work we do. This conversation was just a fun catch up with her. We've been trying to have this interview now. Literally, we planned this thing about a year ago, and it finally happened the other day. And I am so honored that she is in my first top 100 episodes of this program. We talk about her work, being queer and disabled. She's done some really cool things with the ABC show Speechless, which we touch on a little bit. She tells us about one of her first sexual experiences as a queer disabled person, falling in love or at least fucking the high school cheerleader, I think. There's a funny and odd story about cum, a dildo, and dog hair that she'll talk about. There are definitely some hilarious moments in this interview, and it was really important for me to sit with Eva because I just like hearing disabled people's sex stories. Throughout the interview, the person who is reading Eva's words is her attendant Cameron. As Eva explains to us throughout the interview, she is nonverbal and uses a board to have an attendant read out her words, and that's who you're hearing throughout the interview. Cameron was also really fun. Eva and I also talk about our experiences on Cameron Esposito's podcast, Query. I'm really glad that the two of us were the first two visibly disabled individuals on that show, and we kind of chat about that. It was just a really fun interview with another queer disabled person, and I'm excited to share it with you. So just before I hit record and get to that awesome interview with Eva, I want to let you know that if you have a story around sex and disability, or a question, or an anecdote, or anything to do about disability really that you want to share with the Disability After Dark audience, you can do so by sending it in for a minisode to disabilityafterdark@gmail.com. And if you're a first-time listener and you're wondering, what's a minisode? What's all this about? A minisode is basically where you write in a letter about your experiences with sexuality and disability, or disability generally, and I read it back hilariously to you, and I speculate wildly. So if you've been listening along for a while now, we've been doing that for about 22-ish minisodes at this point, and there haven't been a few for a few weeks. The reason being is that I wasn't getting anything in the box. So if you're hearing and you have an idea for a minisode, send it into the box, and I will read it back hilariously to you. But it's a great way for us to build community and to really start talking about the issues that disabled people face in a forum like this. So that's my rant about minisodes and why I love them. And now let's get to the show. Eva Sweeney, hello and welcome to Disability After Dark.
Hello, thank you.
I'm so happy to have you here. You were on an old show that I used to do, and it's just so great to have you back on my new show. I've been trying to get you to be a guest on this new iteration for, wow, it's been a while now, for pretty much almost a year. I'm pretty sure we've been skirting the idea around for a while.
Yeah. That's great to be here.
I am so excited that you're here. And I'm also excited that you're here. I see you on Skype right now, which is awesome. And I also see you're with a familiar face and voice to me. Why don't you introduce how you're communicating with us today?
Okay, well, basically, I'm nonverbal. I have cerebral palsy, so I communicate using a laser pointer attached to my hat, and I point at a letterboard, which the voice that you're hearing now is me, Cameron, Eva's assistant, and I read off everything Eva wants to say from her letterboard. But for the sake of time, we have a lot of pre-written answers that I will be reading off of. But for any follow-up questions or anything, I'll be reading whatever Eva's spelling or writing on her board.
Awesome. And so when you spell what Eva wants to say, can you explain to us how that works?
Yeah. Well, basically, the letterboard, it's got a bunch of different words and letters on it, and I'm pretty much just piecing it together as you point at it. So it'll be P, U, G, pug, O, or and sometimes it's kind of predictive text where I know her so well that I'm able to kind of the more you get to know her, the faster it goes, and the more you're able to kind of get where she's going and help the conversation move along.
Right.
So. And then sometimes it's a little weird because I will think she's saying something and I'm like, oh wait, no, you're saying something else. So there will be times where I might have to correct myself but I usually just do that for the sake of making the conversation go faster because Eva likes it. Yeah. But other than that, that's pretty much how it works.
Awesome. And I know how it works because Eva and I have chatted before, and Eva, we've done things before, so I knew. I just wanted the audience to understand how that would sound when they're listening. So yeah. Thanks for sharing that. All right, so let's dive right in, Eva. I want to first talk to you about O School. I know you're doing work as you gave me this really cool title a few months ago when we were talking, and I now forget what you said. Something to do with a pleasure
professional.
That's right. Pleasure professional. So you teach classes on my favorite topic, sex and disability, through O School. Tell me about all of that.
All right. Well, back in November, I saw an article on Facebook about a new sex education platform which focused on pleasure-based education. It is streaming, so you can be anywhere you want to be to watch it and teach. I was like, OMG, I need to apply. I had been teaching in-person workshops all over the country, but traveling is so exhausting. I was really nervous to apply because not many people would get how a non-verbal person would teach. But when I had my interview with Andrea, the founder, she was like, yeah, this will work, 2 minutes into the interview. I absolutely love teaching at O School. I do my weekly Q&A about sex and disability on Wednesdays, though this might be on a temporary hiatus, which is basically, but the Q&A is basically an open chat where people can ask me anything. I also do more focus classes. like I did one on oral sex. I did one about sex toys, on assisted masturbation, and most recently one about dating dating for 18 and up disabled youth. People should definitely check out my website and follow me on social media, crippingupsexwitheva.com, and my IG.
I fucking love you. I think the branding for that is so simple and so easy, and so it's just really genius, and I gotta say I'm all for it.
Thank you so much.
And I really think it's great that O School was immediately down to work with you and didn't have any hesitation. It sounds like, anyway, they didn't have any hesitation to work with you as a pleasure professional, which, typically when disabled people enter the sphere of wanting to be educators or do something where they have the knowledge, the people that help facilitate that usually are like, oh no, we'll put you in the background. It's really important and awesome. I think that O School, again, I don't want to give them too much credit because it's all you, and you're the bee's knees. I'm an 85-year-old person who says bee's knees frequently. It's fine. But you're the one who does all the awesome work. But I'm saying it's really commendable that O School, no matter what I do, I'm going to come off making them sound like the winners. No, you're the winner. I just like that they're helping you be winning at what you do.
Yeah, that there's just zero hesitation in the process at all, which was amazing. And now we have two more people with disabilities working as pleasure professionals.
Amazing. Hey, O School.
Inclusive and amazing.
If you need somebody else, O School, I'm right. Hey.
Yeah.
Awesome. But do you, and this is an off the cuff question, and one that I don't think we planned for. Eva, do you find that when you're because I see a lot on your Facebook, and it's very similar to me when I ask for podcast questions or I ask for podcast topics, like we're constantly asking because we need more content, because typically the people's curiosity about sex and disability ends at, oh, how do you have sex? And so then when you're doing a whole series or a program or something around that, people get they wonder why you keep asking, and it's like, well, I need more content. Do you find getting the content for this stuff is either A, repetitive, so it's all the same question around like, how do you have sex, or do you find it really hard to come up with new content?
Oh, yes. I am definitely asking people what they want to know, what they want to learn, what they're curious about. Just constantly trying to find more information. Yeah. And sometimes my Q&A, I get zero people asking questions. So that can be kind of hard, and we often just wing it at those points in time, just giving out whatever information and hoping somebody's enjoying it. But when even one person comes and asks questions, I feel like I am helping them. It usually, even when it's just one person asking, it really does feel like a personal and helpful and intimate experience, which is really amazing.
That's so awesome. And yeah, when one person comes, pun definitely intended, you've done your job. So I'm all for that, and I totally agree with that. But I think, again, I'm so, as somebody who's doing pretty much very similar work to you, and trying to build a brand around that. I gotta say, I'm here for it, and I support all the things. So I think like I said, when I get my sex toy thing off the ground, and we're working on it, believe me, it's in the works. We're just trying to get the research happening. But as soon as we have something tangible, I will be like, hey, Eva, want to test this thing?
Hell yeah. Oh, yes. So down for it.
But I just, as a fellow sex educator with disabilities, who's also queer, I really I cannot wait for the day when somebody in California properly hires me to fly out there, because I'm coming to your house immediately. It'd be like, we're hanging out. Let's figure it out.
Oh, yes. Most definitely.
Amazing. So let's go back to Eva when Eva was growing up. I want to hear about Eva. I know about you as an educator, and I know you do rad work more, which we'll get into as we chat here. But I want to know about your life growing up. And I want to know about how your family treated you as a disabled person. And I want to know how that may or may not have shaped your views on sexuality.
Well, as a kid, my parents were awesome. They did not hide the fact that I had cerebral palsy and talked about it openly. Also, they were game to figure out how I could do whatever I wanted to do. I played basketball, skateboarded, played hockey, etc. I think that attitude of, we'll just figure out how you can do it, definitely as an adult, has been the foundation of my sex life. When I want to do something new in bed, I just brainstorm and figure out the best way for my body.
That's awesome. And I love that your parents have been so supportive, because mine have too. Like, mine have been amazing too. And it's just so nice to hear that, in part because of disability, the queerness and the sexuality, like the sexuality part isn't like a big shock, because it's like, oh well, my kids already got like disabilities, so them being queer is not gonna like super freak me out.
Exactly.
I feel like that's not all of our experiences, obviously, but I feel like for a lot of us, that's how our parents kind of dealt with our sexuality.
Yeah, definitely.
And so, yeah, tell me more about you growing up. Like, tell me, Eva, like, go back to, like, Eva, I think you're my age, right? You're 34?
35.
Awesome. Okay, so go back to teenage Eva, like 20 years ago, and like tell me, walk me through what Eva was like 20 years ago.
When I was a junior in high school, my aide and my aide TOO took her lunch break. What was it? The C class before my lunch break. So I had to ask kids in my class to volunteer to help me in class, like read my board, help me take notes, stuff like that. And the girl that volunteered.
Oh my god, I'm so ready for the story. So ready.
The girl that volunteered to be my aide, I was not very excited about, because from what I knew of her, she was like really annoying. We had a class semester before. I know this story really well. She was like really annoying.
The story did not. Okay, first of all, I'm just gonna pause you quickly. The story did not go in the direction that I was thinking it was gonna go. As soon as I heard "girl," I was like, "Oh, it's gonna be like they're gonna have like a sexy moment." And then all of a sudden, you were like, "She was super annoying," and I couldn't.
Oh, just wait, no, it is gonna go where you think.
Oh, I'm so ready. I'm so ready.
Okay. So this is just the first, how things started. Okay, but like when I wasn't excited when she volunteered. I was like, oh fuck, not this girl. But she volunteered, and then right after, she was like, "Can I sleep over at your house?" And I just didn't really think anything of it, and I just said yes. And so she slept over at my house. But when she was at my house, she put her hands down my pants. And like and I was like, okay, cool. And we ended up, and this girl, she was preppy and femme as can be, had a all-star football playing boyfriend. Was it football or basketball? Basketball. All-star basketball boyfriend who she was seeing. And, you know, we ended up dating for a year, and that was my first girlfriend. Not dating, just like fucking. We ended up fucking for a year.
Amazing. Like that's my teenage fantasy. Although with male identified people, that is literally my teenage fantasy.
With the basketball player in the story.
Yeah, that's literally like that's literally my teenage fantasy. So jealous. Hey Cameron, can you turn on the camera again?
I must have shut it off with my elbow or something.
I'm not editing this. I'm leaving all this. This is how two disabled people do a podcast, friends. This is how it happens. Nope.
It's reality. Okay. So, is it on? Is it back?
Nope.
It's not? There's a little camera in the corner. How about now?
That's big nope.
What the frick? I don't know why it's not. No, you're. Oh, side screen? Huh.
It's okay. We can.
Yeah. I don't know why it's not working because I see us, but I don't. I don't want to do that.
It's all right. No worries. I have seen both of your beautiful awesomeness. I'm good. So yeah, super jealous that you got to fuck the high school hottie when you were like 15. And that was in like 1998. That was like not when disability really had a big, it wasn't really given the platform it is now. So like, man, if in 1998 the hot lacrosse player at my school was like, hey, I'll do stuff for you, and then I got an image on my thing. Did I lose you?
Oh, I don't know. I still see you. Do you hear us?
I hear you. Yep.
Okay. I think I accidentally took a picture, but other than that, I don't
know. That's what it was. Yeah, super jealous that you so jealous. Like, fuck right off, but also so good for you.
She is so not like my typical type too now. I mean, now, like, back then she was like, I mean, she still is, but she was very femme, was blonde, I imagine. Yeah. And just, that's what I thought I was supposed to be into. When I, first realized I was queer, I thought I was supposed to be really into femme girls. So I went along with it. And but now I date much more masculine and butch type people, pretty much.
So you're all about the mask for mask then?
Yeah, and all G, E, and all people of all genders, but just definitely like that kind of mask presenting kind of thing. Exactly.
Nice. That's awesome. So you're like I'm just trying to think of like a mask presenting. Yeah, like give me your celebrity crush.
Oh my god. Annie DeFranco? No, sorry. Just cut that one. A-N-I Animal Prufok from Bitch and Animal. Yeah.
I don't know who they are, but that sounds awesome.
But But he is one of my friends now, but fuck it. Still could be your celebrity crush.
Nice.
I mean, you had a crush on him when you were like, what, like 19, and then you later on became friends, which is just a very big, weird world.
Eva, you're kind of like a disability celebrity. Like, you're a big deal.
Thank you.
As if you don't know. You're so modest, but like you must know that people know who you are.
A-W, aw.
But okay, so I know that you're speaking with me today through the awesome use of your assistant Cameron. Tell me about how your form of communication has changed your sex life, or I guess for you it wouldn't have changed your sex life. It was your sex life from the beginning of your sex life. So how has communication played a role in your sex life as a disabled person?
Well, in bed, I can't use my communication system, which is a laser pointer attached to a hat, and then I spell and say what I want on my letterboard. So all the detailed communication has to be done before we get into bed. I can say yes and no by nodding and shaking my head. So that really helps in the heat of the moment. For people I have a relationship with, I really like sexting. Not just because it's fucking hot, but because I can tell them exactly what I want them to do to me and what I want to do to them. This is not a funny story, but I really like when I sext my partner and they say that it totally turned them on. For new people, I usually just text them and explain what my body can and cannot do. I have a quote ROADMAP, a roadmap, which just kind of gives them like a roadmap of my body that gives them like a basic rundown of like what they're gonna be experiencing.
Whoa, is that like do you have like a picture of like, this is Eva's? Like, oh my goodness.
It's like a verbal kind of roadmap, right? WR, it's like written out, but it does just kind of explain my body.
So, okay, now I talk about storyboarding sex all the time, but you have taken it to like an actual level, which I applaud. I applaud all the ways. Like, how do you write out like, this is my body, and also like, you should fuck me because...
Yes. I just say like my my legs can not spread apart, and I am most most comfortable on my side. And, my muscles get tight, and just kind of just like the basics of what positions I can do, what I can't do, so nobody tries to do anything that I can't do. And they just know beforehand, like, what is and what isn't possible. Yeah.
And how does that kind of roadmap, how does that work for you so far?
It has worked great. It's worked great.
And there's been no like, because I can imagine like people would have questions and be concerned about the way you've mapped it out, and you haven't found that in with this communication method of how you like to fuck, which I again think is like, can you please send me a copy? I want to just see how you did it, and then I want to be like, great, here's what I will do to hand pamphlets to Andrew's lover of like what to do next.
I will send you one. It has it opens up conversations between me and my partner, so it's just like a place to start. So if they have questions, or if we want to brainstorm, we can talk about it.
That's awesome. Um, do you have any funny stories about how communication has impacted your sex life?
Not really, to be honest.
Really? I find that surprising because I mean we all have a funny disability sex story. Okay, do you have like a funny?
Okay, but what about the one with the dog toy and like because they didn't really know, but you thought
hang on, dog.
I mean not the dog toy, but the dildo that got in the dog hair, right? What do you think of that one? No, not that one, or that.
I'm kind of down for that one.
Not about communication. Oh, that's true. I just was thinking because there was like kind of like a lack of communication or something. Like you thought he kept you in your wheelchair or something like that. Yeah. Well, this is like, should we just share it? Well, this is only somewhat about communication, but it's a fucking hilarious story.
I'm so ready. I'm so ready for hilarious disability stories. Totally go.
There was this guy that I hooked up with, and like he, did you talk to him much about it beforehand? Like, did you give him a roadmap? Oh, yes. I always give the roadmap. I just didn't know if it existed then. So I gave him the roadmap, but he seemed to not totally understand everything for some reason. But basically, the main thing he kept me in my wheelchair, which for some people is fine, but for me it's not really that great. So he kept me in my wheelchair, and so just in the end, it just wasn't that fun of an experience. I didn't really get a lot out of it. But then what was really hilarious is, they left, and then we found out that they had left their dildo at my house, and I had to have my aide search for this dildo because he wanted to come and get it. And we found the dildo or vibrator or whatever, and we found it in my dog's bed. And, and basically, like, tarred and feathered in cum and dog hair.
What? Oh no!
Oh, so my aide had to fucking wash the vibrator, and then we had to have the awkward come over and pick up your damn vibrator like thing, and then never saw him again, basically.
Oh, that's hilarious. Like, I would have been like, dude, sorry, my pupper's chomped on your dildo. Peace out.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, so that's the closest I think we got for that.
That's pretty hilarious. How did your aide react when you were like, hey, I need you to wash this dildo?
She was cool about it. We laughed about it, and it's pretty funny.
Good. I feel like that's a story. Definitely, like, that's one. I've already decided the title of this episode might just be "Common Dog Hair." It might just be "Common Dog Hair." A conversation with Eva. I don't know.
Oh my god, that'll be an eye catcher.
That'll get the likes up on the numbers. So I mean that I don't know how to segue out of "Common Dog Hair," but I'm gonna try. So you have a lot of assistants that come in and do your care. Are they? Is it a rotating team of like people that you've hired?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
awesome. And so
there's like a set schedule, and there's a few part-time aides and one full-time aide. Yeah. Awesome.
That's awesome. So tell me how you talk to because people have asked me a lot on this podcast. How do I talk to my care staff about sex and sexuality and disability? And do you have any advice you would give to other disabled people who want to have that conversation?
Well, now it is easier because my work's all about sex, so I include that in my ad when I'm looking for new people. That helps a lot to bring sex-positive people to me. As far as talking about my personal sex life with my aide, my aides, it is mostly on a need-to-know basis. Like if I'm sleeping over with my partner, I'll be naked in the morning. So I give my aides a heads up before they're there so they're not surprised when they walk in and I'm completely naked. I would say be as matter of fact as you can be about it, and when you talk to your PCAs, so I would say be as matter of fact as you can about it when you talk to your PCAs. If you are all shy and beat around the bush, your PCA would feel more weird about it. My aides do help charge my vibrators, but it's not weird because they know I have sex. I just don't share the details with them.
I just love that you're like, hey, I need to charge my I need to charge my magic wand right now. Can you just can you thanks PCA. Like first of all, good on you, because I don't know if I could have that conversation with my PCAs. Like, I have vibrators in my room too. I don't use a lot of them, but I hide my stuff in a bag because I'm like, oh my god, I'm shy, I'm nervous. So like good for you for being so like, fuck it, this is what I do and deal with it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm lucky because all my aides are cool and my partner likes them, so it's not weird when I'm hanging out with my partner and while my aides are working.
P.S. The one you have there right now is pretty fucking awesome. So, yes, correct.
Awesome. Thank you.
So Eva, you're just somebody who's really made queer and disability activism your thing, and you're someone that I genuinely, from the bottom of my queer crippled heart, look up to. I look up to you so much for a lot of stuff, and I love how our relationship as friends has been born out of first we were just activists together, and now we'll go to each other for stuff, and you've come to me for advice on things about penises, and I've come to you for just questions about the podcast, and so it's really cool that we've connected that way, and I so much admire what it is that you do and how you've so genuinely tucked into the whole experience of sex and disability. So can you talk to me about what it's like presenting your work so publicly, your personal journey with sex and disability?
Yes. So I definitely feel like a broken record sometimes, and that can be really exhausting, but it just shows how much our work is needed. For as far as how I start in activism, I would say I definitely start small. You don't want, as far as how to start in activism, I'd say definitely start small. You don't want to overreach and set yourself up for failure. Start by reading about different causes and protests happening in your area. This is kind of something you didn't mention, but it's in your question. So yeah, volunteer at your local disability advocacy group or work with your city council to help better things for those with disabilities. If you yourself are disabled, try to get your voice out there by speaking about your experiences.
Oh yeah, sorry, I broke up the question. So it was my fault, sorry. So I'll ask the question again.
Okay, yeah.
So yes, Eva, I genuinely admire you, and I love what you do, and trip solidarity all the way. When I talk about my sexuality and disability as a public figure, I find it can be really rewarding, but also very tiring and monotonous. Do you feel that way? Also, I was asked recently by someone how you start in disability activism, and do you have any tips?
Oh yeah, I definitely feel like I'm a broken record sometimes, and that can be exhausting. But it just shows how much our work is needed. As for how to start in activism, I would say definitely start small. You don't want to overreach and set yourself up for failure. Start by reading about different causes and protests happening in your area. Reach out to people with disabilities and hear their stories and needs. Volunteer at your local disability advocacy group or work with your city council to help better things for those with disabilities. If you yourself are disabled, try to get your voice out there by speaking about your experiences.
Awesome. Eva, are you running for mayor then? Is what you're saying? Are you running for public office? And you're in LA, right?
Not this year.
Could you though, please, Eva? Please do it for me.
Maybe.
Awesome. So you are really, really super queer, as we've discovered. Um, how do you find the queer lesbian community treats you?
Well, what I used to identify as lesbian, but now I just identify as queer. The lesbians were moderately accepting. I was not a big bar goer, so I didn't know how that would be. Similarly to now, because I used online dating and I put my CP in my profile, I would get a few bites, but the women who did reply were usually genuinely interested, even if they had questions. I've had a pretty lucky experience. Yeah.
I secretly hate you, but I'm also really glad that like the lesbian community is all like, or the lesbian and queer community has been fairly kind to you, because queer men can be fucking ableist asswads sometimes, and so I'm happy to hear that at least on your end, for you, the experience hasn't been full of like ableism all the time. Ableism like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because for me, that's sometimes what it feels like. Can you talk about the relationship with your partner?
Yes. Well, we met on Tinder more than 2 years ago. We were both just looking for fun, and we really just liked each other and ended up dating. They're so sweet, but also very no bullshit, which I really appreciate. They're non-binary, and they have mild CP. We just started a long-distance relationship 8 months ago when they moved from Los Angeles to Las Vegas. I was not sure how that would go, but we talk a lot more now that they are more settled over there, and they're going to visit more often. We actually just did a couple stream on O School, which was very fun.
Did you have fucking cam sex? Is that what you're saying? Because
No! It was just like a couple Q&A, kind of. Like, people could go and, like, learn about us as a couple.
Awesome, because for a minute when I heard couple stream, I was like, did they get down? Because I'm all there for that.
For that, yeah. And how dating with a disability how dating a disabled person works, and like just what it's like, the experience. Yeah. So we talked about a lot of stuff like that.
Amazing.
But nothing that close.
Yeah. No. I just, when I heard couple stream, my brain went to like.
It does sound, yeah, I feel yeah.
Like, I was like, did they fuck on camera? Because I would be so there for that in terms of like, that's hot, and also like activism, solidarity. Fuck yes. That's so funny. So I'm gonna skip question 7. There was another question, audience, that I'm not gonna ask Eva because we talked about it off the air that she doesn't have an answer for that one. So I'm gonna move to number 8 because I like this one. Eva, you and I recently guested on Cameron Esposito's Query, which I fucking loved doing, and she did it with me remotely when I was here in Toronto. And I reached out to her and I just said, Cameron, I love your show. Like, can I be a guest? And I didn't think that I would ever get on because she's Cameron Esposito and I'm Andrew Gurza, and like you know what I mean? So I didn't think I'd ever get on, and she immediately tweeted back to me, I know who you are, I love your stuff, like, let's set it up. And I fell apart with joy that I would get to do that. And talking with her and learning about her experience with disabled kids at school and learning about all that stuff was such an eye-opener for me, and it was just really fun to talk with her. And she was somebody that I was really comfortable kind of like walking through my experience with disability. Like, usually when we're doing it in a professional context, it can get really, like we just said, monotonous to have to tell these stories all over again to give somebody a baseline of what disability is like. But with Cameron, it was so comfortable to be in a super queer space sharing that story. Can you tell us about your experience with Query?
Well, Cameron Esposito was so awesome. When we were setting up, she asked all about my access needs and how she could make my experience as easy as possible. And because we were both in LA, I went to the studio to record, and it was so fun. Like, the hour just flew by. I do think she was I think she was a little nervous about how it would work, but after like 5 minutes of like getting to know each other and getting familiar with my communication, she was like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. This is great. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that interview, I've listened to that interview twice now, 2 or 3 times now, because I love the fact that we both were on it in really close succession to each other, and I like to think that it's because of the two of us both got on the show. So I listened to those episodes with like such happiness in my heart, because I'm like, wow, we did that. Like, without us, that show might not have disability representation, and I'm just really, really proud of what we both put out there. What did you think of her line of questioning for you?
I loved it. She had great questions. Also, she She mic'd me so that we could, like, because I laugh and express and so that it's like I was completely a part of the experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's not like she just mic'd Cameron and was like, oh, Eva's over there, I'm making sounds, and you're just gonna read the thing. Yeah. She made sure that like you, which I think, you know, given that your disability to many of us can look. If I didn't know you and I didn't know what a fucking rad, fucking badass activist you are, I might look at Eva's body and go, oh my goodness, that's scary. I wouldn't, because I know you. But the average person who looks at your level of CP might go, oh, like, how do I manage all this? Oh, there's someone there that does it for you? Great, I'll talk with them. So the fact that she ensured that you were a 100% part of the conversation, and that actually Cameron was the auxiliary person there, like Cameron, your attendant, was the auxiliary person there, it's just really important. I mean, Cameron's awesome, and I'm sure you're not auxiliary in life, but in this instance, you totally had to be, which I think it's really great that she took care of you that way.
Yeah, she was really awesome.
Yeah, and I hope, hey, Cameron Esposito, if you're listening, when this episode comes out, I'm going to tag you on all the things, and if you listen, I have a bunch of other queer crippled people that I can send your way who you should totally have on your show. Just gonna throw that out there.
Exactly.
So one of the other big things you do, and Eva, and why I think you're such a celebrity, don't even pretend like it isn't true. Why I think you're such a celebrity is because you were kind of the inspiration / you are the reason that there's, and I believe, I mean, there's obviously other reasons, but you're one of the big reasons why there's a really popular show on the air right now about disability called ABC Speechless, which is a show that I haven't watched in a while, but every time I see it, I think of you because I know you consulted on the show with the producers. Can you tell us all about that experience as best you can?
I first met the creator of the show, Scott Silvery, way before Speechless was made. It was just an idea, just a concept. We had coffee together, and he saw how I communicated with the laser pointer and the relationship I had with my assistant, and then that dynamic alone. And he changed the whole script. Originally, JJ was supposed to have like a high-tech communication device, like, you know, Stephen Hawking. But once he saw my communication system, he realized that was just an incredible way to bring for JJ to talk and have a dynamic relationship with his aide. So he wrote it into the script, and CREA and created an aide character, which is Cedric Yarbrough. So basically, he has his job to thank from because of me.
Amazing.
He's said that before, that like I have you to thank for my job. I meet with the writers, and they ask me all kinds of questions, and I read the scripts, and I give them my feedback and ideas. I am BAS, basically on CAL, on call for whatever they need, pretty much.
That's so awesome. And I think, again, every time I see that show, I immediately think of you, and I'm like, that's what Eva does. That's so awesome. Like, and I was watching the Hollywood Reporter roundtables the other day, and I was like, and I've said this before, and I'm gonna say it again because I fucking believe it's true. I can't wait till there's a day when there's a roundtable of disability creators on that show. Like, and I can't wait for the day when you're at that roundtable with like other disabled creators on the True Hollywood Reporter doing that. If anybody who's in LA listening to this, like, get the fuck on it and get some disabled people around that table, please. And Eva needs to be the first one you put there. Just gonna say it.
Oh my God, yes.
See, Cameron's like, yes, I'm there for this.
It's so good.
Can you tell me about where you might like to see the series is going into season 3 now? Can you tell us about where you might like to see the lead character JJ go with respect to sex and disability?
Well, I would like to see JJ actually date and have a relationship that lasts for at least a couple episodes. He liked a girl on one episode, but she didn't like him back, which is a common thing, and unfortunately for people with disabilities. I know it is on ABC, so they can't be too explicit, but still, I would like more of just being a horny teenager. Like an episode where he gets caught masturbating to Emma Watson or has losing his virginity. But I know the creator knows I would like to see more of him dating, which is good. Yeah.
Amazing. So in your head, is Speechless an HBO series?
I wish. Honestly.
Hey, if you want to do like an Alan Ball type, like HBO, like dark sex and disability series, let me know. I'm down for. I'm so down for it.
It'd be amazing. Yeah.
I'm actually. It's funny that all this is in the works right now, and I probably shouldn't bring it up, but fucking, I'm going to. I was contacted a few months ago, by a company in Canada who wants to maybe produce a series based around this podcast and based around sex and disability, and they wanted to do kind of like an ABC, like, family-friendly version, and I kept being like, no, it has to be edgy, has to be dark, has to be, like, serious. Like, if I'm going to be a part of this, it has to be in that really dark, weird, twisted vein that we like to go in as disabled people who fuck. So, like, in my head, now that you've said that, all that stuff about Speechless, my version of that character is now, like, so much darker because I know how you want it to be.
Exactly.
Eva, so as a queer disabled person, is there anything else you want to share? Anything else you're excited about? Anything else you want to let people know?
Well, just keep up updated. Keep updated on, or stay updated on my CL on my classes at crippingupsexwitheva.com. And you can check me out on O School every week. Maybe. Because that schedule's changing a little bit right now. But you can still stay updated with all of that on my website. Yeah.
Amazing. And everybody who's listening, I'll put all this in the show notes. Seriously, follow Eva because she does amazing work. And I just think I'm just so proud of what it is that you're doing, because it's, again, as somebody who works in this niche environment, like, I just think that I'm just so proud to be one of the people that is in your orbit that's doing what we do. So I have so much like Crip love for you. It's kind of gross, but it's totally there.
I feel the same way. Thank you.
Awesome. Look, you're so professional. You're like, I feel the same way. Thanks. I gotta go now. but Eva, so people can get a hold of you at Cripping Up Sex with Eva. I will put your Twitter and your Facebook and things in the show notes for this. You're awesome, and thank you so much for coming on Disability After Dark today.
Heck yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for having us.
So I'm so glad, and thank you. Okay, I'm gonna hit off now. Alright, so that's another episode of Disability After Dark, the podcast shining a bright light on sex and disability. I'm, of course, your host, Andrew Gurza. Thank you so much for listening and being a part of this. If you want to follow my work, you can head on over to www.andrewgurza.com or follow me on Twitter at Andrew Gurza. You can also follow the Disability After Dark podcast on Twitter by following DisAftDarkPod. You can also follow our Facebook page, facebook.com/disabilityafterdark. It would also be super awesome if you could leave a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts so more people can hear about the show. And if you are able and want to support the show, you can do so by heading over to patreon.com/cripplecontent. This way we can do things like get better equipment. You help me make a living doing this thing. You help support content made by and for people with disabilities, so I can't thank you enough. And you can pledge whatever you can, and as little as $1 a month, to make it as financially accessible as possible. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you again next time, right here on Disability After Dark. Copyright notice. Disability After Dark was presented, created, and produced by Andrew Gurza and Crippled Content Creations, with music by Chris Ujiuchi. Any and all materials, including graphics, audio recordings, and music, are property of the owner and cannot be used or distributed without express permission. Copyright Crippled Content Creations 2018.